My husband's stepchild tempted me. What he did next left me speechless. Part 1: A true story of forbidden desire. There are moments in life that change everything. Moments that, when you look back, you realize started so ordinarily that no one could have suspected. But that ordinariness never lasts long. My story began that way too, on a stifling evening at our seaside villa in Miami. I'm Elena Voss, 42, an event planner who once turned lavish parties into an art form. My husband Victor had died 3 years earlier in a private plane crash, leaving me and Jace, his stepson, in a sprawling house with glass walls overlooking the pitch-black ocean. For 3 years I tried to patch the holes in my heart, but I hadn't noticed Jace growing up, or maybe I deliberately refused to see it. That night we sat in the entertainment room with a massive screen mounted on the wall, the light from the crystal chandelier dancing across the marble floor. Jace, 20, sprawled across the leather couch, legs draped over the armrest, remote in hand as if he owned the whole world. I'd never looked at him like that before. Jace's shoulders were broader, his muscles taut under a tight black t-shirt, his jawline sharp as if carved, his deep brown eyes glinting with a confidence I'd never noticed. He wasn't the skinny boy who used to curl into me whenever storms roared over the bay anymore. Jace was a man now, strong and magnetic. I quickly pushed the thought away. He's Victor's stepson, I told myself, like a mantra to keep the boundary between us intact. But that night, I didn't know those self-assurances would soon crumble like sand under the waves. We were watching an action movie laced with romance, gunshots ringing out between scenes of passionate love. Jace sat beside me, a small gap between us on the couch, but the air shifted as the film rolled into steamier scenes. He leaned closer, resting his hand on the back of the couch, his fingers hovering near my shoulder. I felt his breath brush the space between us, carrying the scent of sandalwood from his cologne. My heart beat faster, a strange sensation rising, uncomfortable, yet thrilling. "Elena," he said, his voice low and hesitant, breaking the silence. "I want to tell you something." I turned to him, my breath catching. "Yes, Jace," I replied, my voice trembling slightly despite my effort to stay calm. "I just want to thank you," he said, his eyes locking onto mine. "After Dad died, you've always been here taking care of me, even though you didn't have to. Because of you, I've never felt lost in this house." His words stabbed into my heart, warm, sincere, but also confusing me further. "Of course, Jace," I answered, forcing a strained smile. "I'm glad you're here." But he didn't look away. "Me too," he said slowly, his voice deeper, as if carrying another meaning. "Having you here makes me feel at ease." The air between us grew heavy, an invisible current sparking across that small distance. I tried to hold the boundary, but in my mind a spark had ignited. Jace wasn't the boy I once knew. The movie rolled on, the romantic scenes growing more intense. Lovers entwining in dim light, breaths mingling, hands gripping as if they couldn't let go. I felt Jace's warmth, him inching closer without me noticing. His hand on the couch back was now just inches from my shoulder, his breath grazing my hair, hot and haunting. Inside me was chaos. This closeness unnerved me, but a thrill ran down my spine. That feeling scared me, I told myself, but it was happening too fast and I couldn't control my thoughts. Our eyes met again, and in his deep brown gaze I saw a fire, something far beyond simple gratitude. I tried to dismiss it, telling myself it was just the movie, just a fleeting moment. But as the screen shifted to the lovers embracing in the rain, I felt Jace's breath draw nearer, warm and tempting, like a wordless invitation. "Elena," he said again, his voice lower, almost a whisper. I turned, my heart pounding like it might burst. "What is it, Jace?" I asked, my voice faltering. He didn't answer right away, just looked at me, his gaze piercing through the shell I'd built. "You don't have to be alone like this forever," he said, his hand inching closer, his fingers brushing my shoulder. That touch was like an electric shock, startling me, but I didn't pull away. "Jace, don't," I whispered, but my voice was weak, not convincing even myself. He leaned closer, his breath now on my cheek, scorching and intentional. "I just want you to know," he said, "that I've always seen you, truly seen you." His words hit me hard, shattering my last defenses. I stood up, stumbling, whispering, "I need to go to my room." He didn't stop me, but his eyes followed me as I left, like a promise that this wasn't over. The days after, Jace changed completely. At breakfast, he talked more, his eyes never leaving me, as if searching for something in my every move. He started helping around the house, something he'd never done before. "Elena, let me help you," he said one morning as I dusted the bookshelves in the library. He took the cloth from my hand, his fingers brushing mine, leaving a lingering warmth. I stared at him stunned. He'd never been this proactive. "I know you've managed everything in this house alone," he said, his eyes boring into me. "You've been on your own, and you need someone to support you." His words were unexpected and touched me deeply. "Thank you, Jace," I replied, my voice shaky but inside a warmth spread. His acknowledgement of my loneliness struck a hidden chord. Then one afternoon, as I stood in the kitchen chopping vegetables for dinner, I felt Jace's gaze. He leaned against the counter a few steps away, but his stare burned. It wasn't the look of a stepson to a stepmother. It was a man's gaze tracing every curve of my body. My hips, my back, my long black hair cascading down. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was overreacting. "No, Elena, you're just exaggerating," I said inwardly. But the intensity in his eyes was unmistakable. I tried to stay calm, kept chopping, but my hands trembled slightly, a nervous excitement creeping in. Honestly, I liked it. It had been so long since I'd felt such fierce attention. When Jace left the kitchen, I rushed to the bathroom mirror. I looked at myself, 42 but still captivating. Slim waist, full hips, a toned body from morning yoga. My black hair fell sleekly over my shoulders, my gray eyes sparking with a vitality I'd forgotten. My breasts were firm, untouched by time. I smiled at myself, a new feeling rising. I was still beautiful and Jace had seen it. Jace's behavior grew bolder. His eyes didn't leave me, his accidental touches became frequent. His fingers grazing mine as he handed me a glass, his shoulder brushing me as we cleared the table. I began to realize he was testing the boundaries between us, and the terrifying part was I didn't hate it. One evening I stood on the balcony, staring at the inky ocean, the salty sea breeze whipping through my hair. Jace stepped out, standing beside me, close enough that I felt his body heat. "Elena, have you ever thought about living for yourself?" he asked, his voice deep like the waves. I turned, my breath catching. "What do you mean?" I asked. He looked at me, his brown eyes glinting under the outdoor lights. "You deserve to be happy, not just to survive," he said, his hand brushing my elbow. That touch sent a shiver through me, but I didn't pull away. "Jace, we shouldn't," I whispered, but my words dissolved in the wind as he stepped closer, his breath now on my lips. "I don't care about should or shouldn't anymore," he said. "I only care about you." My heart raced wildly. I turned back inside, ran to my room, but in my mind a fire had ignited. Jace was no longer the boy I'd cared for. One night, I came home late from an event downtown. As I opened the door, I froze at the sight. Candles flickering throughout the living room, red roses scattered on the floor, a dining table set elegantly with silk and crystal. The air was thick with romance, like an invitation from dreams I'd forgotten. Jace emerged from the kitchen, wearing a fitted white shirt, black pants pressed sharp, hair neatly styled. He looked like he'd stepped from a magazine, magnetic in a way I couldn't tear my eyes from. "I wanted to make your birthday special," he said, a gentle smile on his lips but a fire in his eyes. He handed me a gift box. I opened it, stunned, an emerald green dress, soft silk, deep backless cut, slit high to the thigh. It was dangerously beautiful, sensual in a way that thrilled and scared me. "You got this for me?" I asked, my voice faltering. "Of course," he replied. "I wanted you to wear something worthy of you. It'll look deadly on you." His tone was calm, but his eyes weren't, they burned with desire. I went upstairs, stood before the mirror, letting the green silk slide over my skin. When I put it on, I barely recognized myself. The dress hugged every curve, my long legs peeking through the slit, my bare back revealing smooth skin. I stared, heart racing, 42, but I looked like a goddess, powerful and alluring. "This is insane," I whispered to myself. "I'm dressing up for Jace. But God, I look good." I took a deep breath, walked downstairs. Jace's eyes locked onto me. He stood still, his breath seeming to stop. "I knew it," he said, his voice husky. "You're more beautiful than I imagined." I smiled, hiding my fluster. "Thank you, Jace. The dress, it's amazing." I said, but his gaze made me tremble. It wasn't just admiration, it was unmasked hunger. He led me to the table, poured red wine into glasses. Soft jazz played, candlelight flickered across his face, highlighting his sharp features. We talked first about Victor, about the years after he was gone, but then Jace shifted. "Elena," he said, his voice low and serious, "why does a woman like you let herself stay so lonely? I don't get it." I looked at him, unsure how to respond. "Loneliness isn't always a choice, Jace," I said. "Life made me this way." He tilted his head, sipped his wine. "But you don't have to stay lonely forever," he replied. "A woman like you has desires, and I'm here." His words hit like a punch, leaving me breathless. I sipped my wine, eyes locked on him. This birthday night had gone beyond a celebration. It was veering into dangerous territory. Jace set his glass down, his gaze unwavering. "Elena, you're so beautiful it drives me crazy. I want tonight to be special because you deserve everything," he said, his voice low but resolute. I smiled awkwardly, twirling my glass. "You're sweet, Jace. But why are you trying so hard?" I asked. He raised an eyebrow, replying, "Because you're not just my stepmother. You're everything I see, strong, gorgeous, and I can't pretend I don't notice anymore." His words shook me, my heart pounding harder. We stared at each other, the air thickening, the silence only heightening the tension. He stood, walked around the table, came to my side, resting his hand on the table's edge and leaning closer. "Elena, you don't deserve to be forgotten by anyone," he said, his voice like a vow. "Jace," I started but didn't know how to go on. He leaned down, his breath hot on my lips. "I can't hide this anymore," he whispered, and then his lips met mine. That kiss was a storm. Fierce, consuming, pulling me into a whirlwind of emotions I'd never known. His hand slid to my waist, pulling me against him, his body pressing tight, his heat making me tremble. I kissed back, unable to resist, our lips melded, a raw connection exploding between us. But then reason yanked me back. I pulled away, gasping. "No, this is wrong," I said, my voice shaking. "Jace, I need to go to my room." He looked at me, breathing hard. "I'm sorry, Elena, but I couldn't hold back," he replied, his voice still ablaze. I said nothing more, rushed upstairs, shut the door, leaned against it, heart hammering. I sat on the bed, looked in the mirror, lips swollen, eyes gleaming. I couldn't believe what had happened. How did this happen? I whispered, my mind spinning. The wine and emotions dragged me into sleep, but that night wasn't over. In the middle of the night, a soft sound woke me. My eyes fluttered open, seeing the door slowly creak open. In the dim hallway light, Jace's silhouette appeared, tall, powerful. "Elena," he whispered, his voice low but determined. My heart pounded as he stepped in, closing the door. "I know I shouldn't be here, but I can't stop," he said, coming closer. His eyes burned into me, not the eyes of a boy, but of a man who wanted me desperately. I sat up, voice trembling. "Jace, we can't." But my words faded as he approached, his breath scorching my skin. "I don't care about right or wrong anymore," he said. "I just want you." My heart thundered, every barrier in me collapsing. "Jace," I whispered, and then I gave in. He pulled me to him, our lips crashing together. This kiss wasn't tentative, it was a fierce claiming. His hands gripped my waist, pulling me tight, his hard body pressing into me, his heat igniting me. I kissed back, arms wrapping around his neck, nails grazing his back through his shirt. He groaned softly, a primal sound that thrilled me, my pulse racing as my hand pressed against his chest, feeling his heart pound. "Elena," he whispered, his voice thick with desire, and then he let go completely. His hand slid to my hips, lifting me, laying me on the bed with a controlled intensity that electrified me. He leaned down, stripping off his shirt in a swift motion, revealing toned muscles under the faint window light, broad shoulders, firm chest, flat stomach etched with perfect lines. I couldn't look away, my breath quickening as he knelt on the bed, leaning toward me. He bent down, his lips finding my neck, hot and wet, each kiss a flame spreading across my skin. His hand slid to my shoulders, pulling the straps of the green silk dress off, letting it fall to the floor in a soft whisper. I lay there, breathing hard, bare under his gaze. His eyes weren't just admiring, they were ravenous, like he wanted to devour me. "Elena," he whispered, voice rough, "you're more beautiful than I ever dreamed." His hands traced my waist, gripping tight, pulling me closer, and then his lips moved to my chest, his hot breath making me shiver. I arched, hands clutching the sheets, a wave of pleasure surging through me as he kissed lower, slow but deliberate. His body pressed over mine, his weight overwhelming me. Every move he made was a declaration, a possession I couldn't resist. My hands found his back, nails digging harder, leaving red streaks on his skin. He groaned, that sound driving me wild, his heart racing under my palm as I pressed it to his chest. "Elena," he whispered, voice breaking with need. And then he gave himself fully. Our bodies merged, rhythmic and fierce, like a dance that couldn't stop. I felt him, his strength, his warmth, his passion flooding me, each motion pulling me deeper into ecstasy, our breaths mingling, urgent and searing. I arched, clinging to him, letting the waves of sensation crash over me, my body trembling in a climax I hadn't known in years. He held me tight, his breath hot against my ear, and then we surrendered together, lost in a moment of pure bliss. Jace collapsed beside me, panting, his arms still around me like he couldn't let go. I lay there, sweat glistening on my skin, body limp after the storm of emotion. "Elena," he whispered, voice hoarse, "I've never wanted anyone like I want you." I turned, looking into his eyes, still burning but softer now. "Jace," I replied, voice faint, "what did we just do?" He smiled faintly, brushing my hair. "We lived true to ourselves," he said. I didn't answer, just lay there, letting his warmth envelop me. My mind blank but my heart full. That night changed everything. After Victor's death I'd lived like a shadow, but Jace pulled me from the darkness, in a way I never imagined. In the days after, he stayed close, his eyes still seeking me, but now with a new intimacy. I didn't know what the future held, the boundaries had shattered, and we'd crossed a line we couldn't uncross. But in that moment I felt alive, truly alive, for the first time in years. Jace was no longer the stepson I'd cared for. He was the man who'd awakened me, and I couldn't deny it. This story isn't over. What happens next is even more dramatic, more profound. If you're hooked on my tale, follow along for the next part. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment. What do you think of this twist? Did it hit you? There's so much more ahead, and I promise, you won't want to miss a second of this journey.